Hello, welcome back to our Thursday lives. Lovely to chat to people. I feel like I'm actually seeing people when I do these lives, which is not something we're doing much of at the moment. So very much look forward to them each week, especially as we've had such fantastic guests join us each week. And this week is no different. We've had some pretty wild questions sent in for Lewis, so we're not going to cover all of them, but we will cover as many. We'll be talking all about how Lewis got into ultra marathon running and what he's got coming up this year, both live and virtual. Hello!
Hello.
How are you? Can you hear me?
How are we doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Are you excited? I know how excited you've been for this all week.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. This a little bit cracky, so I'm not sure what the Wi-Fi.
Is that better? Is that better? Can you hear me?
I'm trying my best to. I can hear you in and out. It's coming in and out.
Okay, I've turned off Wi-Fi now, so hopefully it'll be a bit better.
That is a bit better. That is a bit better.
Good. Are you excited? I know you've been excited about this all week.
Yes, I'm very excited that you know everything about my life. No, but as a matter of fact, I'm nervous. It's one of those things. I'm not a fan of talking about me. I'd happily be at your end asking the questions, but when roles are reversed, it's quite daunting, really, especially if it's not something you've done very often. But no, I'm happy. I'm really grateful for you guys to ask me to come on and chat anyway.
Great. Well, you'll be fab. I mean, it's all talking about stuff that you've done, so we won't be quizzing you or anything. Not too much, anyway. Okay, cool. Well, let's get started because we've only got sort of 25 minutes and I don't want to waste any time because we've had a lot of questions sent in, some of them slightly rogue. I've skipped out some of the slightly rogue ones.
Good.
But first things first, Lewis, tell us a bit about you.
Okay, so for those that don't know, my name's Lewis Robling. My background, I'm an ex-professional rugby player of 10 years. That's all I know. And then kind of 18 months ago, I started my own business. I am now apparently a coconut extraordinaire. I have a business called Cocabana. We sell bowls, reclaimed wooden cutlery, coconut candles, everything sustainable, with the kind of health of people on the planet at the forefront of it, which is fantastic, and I love it. Alongside that, now I've kind of dipped my toe into the endurance events and absolutely started loving it, and hoping to make that something of kind of my life moving forward, as well as balancing the business side of stuff. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, to be honest.
I was going to say, dipped your toe. I mean, you've done more than dipped your toe. You've taken on quite a few endurance feats. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. When was your first ultra or your first sort of big endurance event?
So my first ultra technically was with you guys, England 125, which was last September, and that was some experience. I mean, but before that, I did a little bit, kind of. I think like everyone, lockdown hit and rugby had stopped. Everything had come to a standstill, and the one thing that I found that actually I enjoyed was running. And I remember doing 5K a day in May to start. And then I did the 4448 Goggins challenge, which really was the main thing that kind of got me hooked. That feeling of accomplishment really did kind of ignite that running bug, which I know that everyone that does ultras will know what I'm talking about, or runs longer distance and runs regularly. So, but no, my first ultra was England 125 back in September.
And just remind us, how long did you have to train for that one, Lewis?
Well, a certain someone asked me 4 weeks before. So I had around 4.5 weeks to train for an event which is 125 kilometers long over 2 days.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing, and you basically did the coaching for me. And I went from running maybe 10K runs to 18K to then 28K runs in the space of like 3 weeks. And I honestly, still looking back, I have no idea how we got through it, but we did. So thanks for that.
Sorry, my phone's going off. I'll put it on silent. No problem at all. I mean, asked being the prevalent word there. I think we actually have your wonderful girlfriend to blame for that, who said Lewis would absolutely love to do one of these events. So I said, okay, fine, Lewis can do one of these events. And I did initially think you might say the 50, but you didn't, did you?
No, and I think that's kind of a sign of my personality. I'm very much if I'm if yeah, maybe I'm an idiot, probably an idiot. But I was really at that time as well. Like I said, I love a challenge and something like that to go from doing nothing to maybe I was a little bit arrogant to think I could do it as well. I don't know, but it was a challenge. I thought, you know what, I don't think I can do it, so I'm going to do my best to try and get through it. And yeah, and yeah, I did. And in terms of the event itself, it was just phenomenal. I mean, it's hard to describe the amount of emotions that you go through during a kind of an 11-hour day of running, and then get back and know that you're going to go out the next day and do another 50k. It was just phenomenal. I feel like the amount of like life experience I got in that 12 hours in terms of the emotions that you go through is just incredible. I mean, you know it yourself. There are so many times during the event that you think, oh, I honestly can't do this. My legs are shot, my feet are shot. I can't climb the hill. I'm gonna have to give up. And then from that emotion, then you feel like you're letting people down. You go through that wave of emotion, and then you get to the top of a hill and you feel elation, and it's just phenomenal. But yeah.
And I did something, and I have to say, you know, despite perhaps having quite a tough time out there, you were very positive throughout the whole thing. Every time I saw you, you know, you waved or smiled or put your hands in the air or did something to show you were still alive, and you really did take it on like a champion. It was amazing to see you complete it. So we've touched a little bit, but just before we tap into some of the questions asked by other people, what is it about these kind of endurance events that got you hooked?
In all honesty, the real thing that gets you hooked is you work so hard for it. Like the training is arguably the hardest part of it, but you put yourself through 4 weeks, longer than 4 weeks usually, but like training to then really go balls out in an event, and at the end of it, it's that sense of accomplishment that really gets you going. That it was for me anyway. I mean that. I remember finishing or seeing the campsite at the top of the hill and the last 5k to go. I remember running down the side of a hill. It was a Sunday, so people were out for their afternoon walks just before everyone was on full lockdown. And I remember just tears coming down the side of my face just seeing the finish line because of that kind of emotional battle you go through. And I think when you're running it, it's a different level of brutality. It is nothing like I've ever experienced before in my 10 years of playing professional sport. And to just get through it, get to the finish line, and that feeling of elation, it's addictive. And that sense of accomplishment is really what I think that gets people hooked.
Yeah, it's definitely an emotional journey. Our founder, Jamie, who you've met, always says you experience the highest highs and the lowest lows in these events, which I think is pretty bang on, because you really do. There are times when you think, why on earth am I here? Like, at what point did I think this was a good idea? And then there's times when this is it's the best thing in the world. And certainly when you finish, it takes all of about 3 minutes to sign up to another one, I think.
I know, and I think another thing to mention with these type of events, I mean, I can only compare it to sport, and it's the sense of community. It's the sense of being part of a huge team. I ran like 90% of the race on my own, so it's a lonely day. But I quite enjoyed that. But at the same time, that 10%, I ran with some amazing people. David Kirk I ran with, I had some great conversations with. Honestly, like that sense of community, it's like being part of a team. The only way I can tell it's like being part of a rugby team without like the bitchiness of selection or competition, because everyone's on the same team. Everyone wants everyone to succeed. And that is another massive part of this community that keeps you coming back. The people you meet, everyone's doing it for their own reasons. Everyone has their own goals. And it's fascinating. It really is.
The community is definitely something that I think is a big driver for a lot of people, and I don't think many people realize quite what a kind of close-knit sort of gang it is until you're fully immersed in it. But talking of close-knit gang, let's answer some of the questions that have been
Cool.
sent in. So the first one: how did you prevent injury when building up the miles so quickly? I mean, I don't think we had enough time to get an injury, did we?
To be honest, I've got background anyway in kind of injury prevention, so I did everything that I needed to do to make sure that I could. You can never like fully prevent an injury. If you're going to get injured on a run, you're going to get injured on a run. There's always going to be a risk, but I did everything I could. I spoke to experts, I spoke to nutritionists, to physios, to osteopaths, about what stretches to do, what S&C to do, and I did everything, and I took the time to learn. And I think that's kind of the main part of, if you're going to dive into something like this, is become a student, like learn everything that you can in the shortest time possible to make sure that you don't. Because if you get injured, getting injured it's not a nice feeling at all. You know full well, like it's awful. You can't do what you love doing, and really you need to do everything possible to make sure you avoid that. So, like I said, become a student, speak to people, speak to other ultra runners, what they do, and learn.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, I think one thing that's really important to mention here is that after this race, you did take a significant amount of time off, which is very, very important. Like, it was a big stress for your body, and you respected that. And you took very close.
I didn't run for 2 months because I couldn't. I picked up an injury on day one, which meant I had to run day two with a dodgy calf hammy. Which is a challenge in itself. But yeah, it took six weeks at least for me to start feeling normal. I think that must have been from not having much training. Obviously, the more training you put into it, and the longer you give your body time to adapt, the better you'll be after an event. But for me, my first ultra, 2 months at least before I was even running normally again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you're back now, and we'll tuck into that in a little bit. What was the trickiest part of training for you, obviously, aside from the fact that we had a relatively short amount of time? Someone mentioned like the back-to-back days, which I know you and I talked about quite a lot. Those can be quite a kind of kicker for someone who doesn't do those. So what would you say is the trickiest part?
I suppose it comes down to the increase in the mileage. We only have 4 weeks, like we said, so it was very much get as many miles in as possible while staying injury free. I know, like we chatted a lot during that time, and for you it was about me getting to the event without an injury. So it was about doing it in a controlled way. So increasing the mileage and not being injured was one of them. But also, I think something to note is that training for an ultra event does take a lot of time. So another thing I found tricky in terms of a work-life balance was managing the amount of time I was running versus how much energy and time I had to put into the business as well. So that's something that I found quite difficult, because these runs take a lot of time and recovering takes a lot of time. So the kind of the work-life balance was difficult. And so it all comes down to discipline, really, and having a plan. So that was tricky. Nutrition was tricky as well. I didn't have enough time to really practice nutrition during my training, which cost me a lot. We won't get into that, honestly. It wasn't pretty.
Everyone's been their nose. It's all right. Everyone has been their nose.
It wasn't pretty at all. So I think the mileage increase, and then making sure that you practice eating and running at the same time, as well as then managing kind of your time versus working.
Yeah, it takes almost as long to train your gut as it does to train your body itself. And I've just seen John has just, or Shippy, feels weird calling him John, who also did Ultra X England, is a legend. I'm sure you'll meet him I think he's doing England again.
Oh,
but I'm sure you'll meet him. You'll get along with him very, very well. And yes, of course, John, you can come on the lives. John has also just launched a podcast, guys, so make sure you check it out, Beyonce. Anyway, any mental training tips?
I suppose that's quite an interesting one. You've obviously everything. How do I explain this? I suppose for me it was I kept coming back to why I was doing it in the first place. And I mean, why I did it was is quite deep, really. I suppose because as a rugby player, I never truly fulfilled what I thought I was capable of, if I'm completely honest. And there's a number of reasons for that. Luck has a massive part. Injury has a massive part of it. And whether I was good enough to become the best, like to play at the toppest level, the highest level. And I suppose my why was sort of, this is going to be an individual event and I've got no one else to blame apart from myself. So if I'm going to get myself through 125k ultra, I can't blame anyone. And it was a real test to whether I could achieve it or not. And every time things got tough, every time things got as a training run, and I'd run the longest I'd ran before, and I kept coming back to why I was doing it. And that was kind of my mental training. And I suppose for anyone, if mid-run, what do they think about when it gets tough? And it's coming back to why you're doing it in the first place.
Absolutely.
Well, sorry, that's a bit deep, but
no, rugby's loss is our gain, because we do all of these events, and it is an incredible kind of driver. Brad Welch. It is an incredible driver to kind of have a deep-rooted why, and I think a lot of us runners do, and it can change. You know, that why doesn't need to be the same all the time. It can change as you kind of evolve as an athlete, but I do think it's definitely a kind of a must-have essential when you're taking on these long-distance runs. Okay, tips for a first-timer, because you, my friend, are no longer a first-timer.
Oh, no. It comes back to what I said about becoming a student. Speak to experts, try things. You give yourself enough time before an event to really practice, increase your mileage, have a solid plan in place, so that, and also maybe have someone to be accountable to. Like the training gets tough, so I'm going to go on a waffle. I usually do. So the tips would be: become a student, learn about the training, learn about increasing the mileage, learn about recovery, learn about nutrition. Just learn. Yeah,
absolutely. And you do never stop learning. I think, you know, even the best in the world will continue to learn and continue to evolve and continue to develop. And it's actually quite exciting, especially within the world of, I think, endurance events, because there's so much you can do. Even with the world of ultra marathons, you could race in the desert, you could race in the mountains, you could race in the jungle, you could do 2 days, 5 days, 12 days, 100 days, you know. It kind of goes on and on and on, which is, I think, is an exciting part of this world. Okay.
Also, make sure you get a decent pair of trainers as well.
Yeah, definitely a decent pair of trainers and a decent pair of socks. I've thrown this one in because it came from our good friend Ben Parker, and I thought it was fun. 10-year plan.
10 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to think into the future.
It is.
I really think, at the moment, I haven't been thinking that far in advance. So sorry, Ben, I don't really have an answer to the 10-year question. But what I do know is that right now, as the more events I do, the more I'm loving it. And my goal is to be kind of at a fitness level where, if, say, you like yourself was like, Lou, do you fancy going to do a 100k race on the weekend? Then I'd be fit enough and I'd be in a strong enough position to be like, yeah, sure, Han, no problem at all, without risking injury. So I think my current goal is to just get to a fitness level where, and continue to learn, but to be at a fitness level where I can just throw myself into these events and really enjoy it. And I suppose the 5-10 year plan will evolve from there.
It's got to include getting Steph to an ultra, hasn't
it? I think we'll need longer than 10 years for that.
I don't know. I believe in the girl. Okay. Let's talk about the challenges, because I know you've got a few of these coming up, 2 fairly soon. Tell us about those.
So I've got Saturday. We're doing, so I'm going to do my best to raise money with a friend of mine, Ben John. He's on Instagram, the rugby trainer. And it's a charity called Head for Change. Now, the reason I'm passionate about this charity is because what they do is they raise money and they give to ex-professional rugby players or to ex-rugby players, footballers that have suffered with or have had to retire with cognitive diseases from concussion. And I'm quite passionate about this because over my career I had maybe 4 or 5 different concussions. The one concussion I was out for over 3 months, and I had double vision for 2 of those months. So it's much more common in the sport than people think, and I know at least 10 players that have had to retire due to concussion, and it's just awful. So we're going to go out to Richmond Park on Saturday and run for 2 hours, cycle for 2 hours, 3 times. So it's a 12-hour event. He hasn't done any running really. He did a 40-minute run the other day, and
I did see that.
So Ben, I'm making a deal with him. If we can tie our bikes together, I'll drag him along in the running. So because I'm riding a fixed wheel bike as well for the 12 hours, and
I saw that.
don't have any, I only have I've actually bought some straps from Amazon for like a £5 that luckily work quite well. So that's on Saturday. So that's going to be an exciting challenge. So if anyone's around in Richmond Park, feel free to come and join us on the bike or running around. Like it's all for a good cause at the end of the day, and it'd be nice just to see people social distance as well. So if anyone's around on Saturday, and then the weekend after that is another exciting event, another 12-hour event, which is Dawn Till Dusk with you guys.
Yeah,
that's awesome as well because it's going to be as a team of 3, which I love because you become accountable to your teammates, and that drives you, doesn't it? I love that about kind of team events. So no, that's exciting, and then yeah. So the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like a good lineup, and definitely going to sort of dig deep into that why, and hopefully you've got your nutrition sorted now. Okay.
Just about.
Yeah, just about. It's a little bit more public in Richmond Park, so you probably want to have it sorted.
So we've mapped out a toilet. We know where our toilets are. So
Good to know. Good to know. Well, I'm hoping to come and join you for a little bit of that as well.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, final question. Let's talk about real life races. They are on the horizon. We're hoping the world is opening up. We're very optimistic about that. And you have 1, maybe 2, but obviously the second one we can't talk about, booked in with us for this year. So tell us about that.
So the next one, which is a real life event, which I'm absolutely buzzing for, is Scotland 125, which is up at Loch Ness, which by looks of the map is just going to be a huge lap around Loch Ness, which is just going to be absolutely stunning. It's around 4,000 feet of elevation, so it's going to be a tough one. It's a 75k the first day and a 50k in the second. It's the same as England, really, but no, that's going to be incredible. It'd be just nice to see people again, wouldn't it, and run with people, and that the way Ultra X, the way you put on events is just phenomenal. The way it brings people together, like we've spoken about England already. In my experience, it was just fantastic. So I'm really excited for that. And then the one after that we can't speak about is even more exciting. But again, we'll wait to announce that first.
Yeah. Watch this space. Well, Lou, it was so lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much for sharing your kind of insights into the ultramarathon world. And we're so excited to see so much more of you this year. And we will be following, rooting, cheering. And please, guys, do, if you can, go and donate to the incredible cause that Lewis is raising money for this week. Lewis will be tagged in this, so you can head over to his page. And I'm sure all the details are over there as well. But thank you once again. And I'm sure I will speak to you very soon.
Yes, I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Bye.
Take care. Bye.